now listening to Kendra After Dark.
Hey, what's up? My name is Kendra, and welcome back to Kendra After Dark. I want to thank you so much for joining us again. Tonight, my guest host, I have Sarah.
Hi.
All quiet. Sarah is also a medical patient, and I have known Sarah for how long now?
5 years.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Sarah is married to one of my oldest friends, so I got to meet her that way. Super fancy.
Yeah.
But as awesome as Sarah is, she actually brought the product or the strain that we're going to be testing out today. And she got it from Harvest here in Tucson. Harvest has some pretty awesome deals and good bud all around. We are trying the Mojave Green Soul Assassin, and it smells super wormy. Well, that's all I can smell, which is like fresh dirt. What do you smell? Not that is bad, but I'm not a huge wormy smell person.
I definitely smell the dirt.
You're on now.
Yeah.
But it looks good. It's pretty crystally. It's nice and light and green.
Yeah.
You know, so I think
squeeze
it'll be nice. I'm about to squeeze it right now when I roll it up. Also, we'll see for sure. And we are smoking it with the, vanilla cream swishers, which are one of my favorite kinds. So that's what we'll be trying. But why don't you tell me 3 random, they're sweet cream. It's still vanilla cream flavor, but just so we're correct all around. What are 3 random things about you? Doesn't have to be anything crazy or wild, just things about you that make Sarah.
Wow, that's a really hard question, Kendra. I'm an only child, a middle child, the youngest, and the oldest.
How? Okay, well that's a pretty good one to start on. How are you all of those things?
Okay, so my dad has 3 children. 4, I'm so sorry, 4 total. And out of all of us, I'm the youngest. My mom has 2 kids total, me and my little sister. So I'm the oldest. And I have step siblings. And out of those, I am the middle. And my dad raised me mostly on my own. So, only child there.
So, are your siblings from your dad older then?
All of them are older, yes.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. All right, so that's one random fact about you. 2 more.
2 more. Wow. I am a doula.
What is a doula?
A doula is a non-medical support person who helps emotionally, physically, comfort the family while they bring their baby landside
into this world.
Yeah.
So are you with that family then throughout the pregnancy as well as after?
So I'll meet with the family. I usually do a free consultation around 26 weeks, and then I will see them 2 weeks later for the first prenatal visit that's in home, and we'll go over like birth preferences, and we'll do a game and talk about fears or concerns with, leading up to the birth of their baby. Both of them, pregnant person and their partner. And then the birth. Second postpartum visit. We'll be at 36 weeks, and we'll go over comfort measures for labor. So rebozo and some comfort touch on the hands, like a little hand massage.
Oh, nice. Definite, de-stressors or relaxing things, right?
Yeah, yep.
So what made you decide you wanted to do that?
Having my son was life-changing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And so did you already know about doulas when you were pregnant, or?
I had an idea, but I wasn't exactly sure what it was. And I had mentioned it to my husband, and he felt that the doula would be taking over his role. And because we didn't know much about it, we just opted to not.
Yeah.
Now, knowing more, doula will work alongside dad. We don't mean to,
You're not trying to interfere.
Right.
Or, take their spot.
Yeah.
It seems kind of like a third party that can help you with the, how scary pregnancy is. Mm-hmm. And that's something I want to talk about and go more in depth on one of the episodes about later on. Because being pregnant is scary. It's awesome, but it's scary. You have a life inside you, and you have to worry all the time. Okay, I hope nothing is happening. Not really even being able to look at it and know what's going on.
Yeah, I had a lot of anxiety when I was pregnant,
mm-hmm.
and I'm sure most women do, because it's your body, and something's happening to your body all the time, and your baby. So
how about about is it different than like a midwife?
Yeah.
Or is it similar? I mean,
a midwife would be the person birthing the baby and doing temperature and.
so you're totally like emotional,
yes,
physical support afterwards, everything.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't even, we are so non-medical that we don't even check people's temperatures.
Nice. You just like ask them, how are you doing? And that's enough, right?
Yeah, so how are you feeling?
I think that's good though too, because a lot of people, sometimes women have a really hard time after having children with postpartum. You know what I mean? And I think at least having a voice or someone there who could tell you like, well, that's okay, and it's not you having to call your doctor, because you have a different relationship with doctors usually, at least in my case. I feel like there's always some little bit of like, well, you are a doctor, you're not my friend or something, you know what I mean? So it's not as comfortable.
Yeah, so I also will be offering postpartum services. So that's like in-home during the day or during the night for 8 to 10 hours the first 2 weeks the baby's born. And I'm teaching, if the family needs to be taught anything, it's just how to diaper their baby properly without the baby being uncomfortable, and how to bathe their baby, and I'll do the baby's laundry or, do some dishes, but
a lot of help, whatever the mom might need, it sounds like.
Yeah, lots of.
That's a pretty, I honestly, I don't know anybody else who does that. So that's a pretty cool, service to offer, a job. What is one other random thing about you?
I love taking pictures. I love photography.
I was like, of yourself? Selfies? You like selfies?
I got my first camera when I was 16 for my 16th birthday for my aunt. And then my mom actually told me that she loved the pictures that I take. And that was really like uplifting from my mom.
Yeah, it was like a moment of you being like, oh, you like my pictures? Excuse me, I just hit that weed and it tastes very warmy too. I'm all the soul assassin. It's definitely a kind of a harsh first hit.
It tastes a bit like dirt.
It does, with a little bit of vanilla cream in the backward, or in the background because of that swisher. But otherwise, I'm not sure that I would be totally sold on the taste of this. I'm not super big on warmy smells or anything anyway, so right away I was kind of like, ooh, I smell this, but I taste it too. And I don't usually taste it all that much when I'm smoking, But we'll see. We'll see how we feel in a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a hybrid. It's supposed to be higher indica, so, hopefully we'll feel the kind of mellow from it. Well, today I think most of what I wanted to focus on with our conversation is your role, because the majority of your time you spend at home. You're a stay-at-home mom. You're one of the few friends that I have that is a stay-at-home mom. And so I really just want to know kind of the different aspects of that as opposed to working, because I work full-time, so it's very different. I know at the end of my day I only have a couple hours with my kids. We have to make dinner, homework, whatever, and then it's like, okay, well, it's bedtime because we wake up early, So what do you think, what is your opinion of being a full-time stay-at-home mom?
Okay, so when I was postpartum, after I had my son, I was having really bad anxiety about going back to work. So much so that me and my husband had to go to marriage counseling just so that I could get it out and say that I do not want to go back to work and I can't go back to work. I wanted to stay home with the baby, and
that's what I was going to ask. So you wanted to stay with the baby?
I did, and I wanted to be the one that taught our baby. And looking back now and thinking about it, it's probably like a pride thing.
Yeah.
We have this image of the perfect mom, so that makes it really hard.
Yeah, which I think about that image. So that image is based on such a long time ago. It's based on when the guys always went to work and then the ladies stayed at home and they took care of their 2 children, which were always one boy and one girl, and they were smoking cigarettes while they were cooking dinner, and it was fucking perfect, and the house was always spotless. And they were like, I have no outside world problems either. And also no friends. Oh no, they did have friends. 3 of them that they always got together with every single week at the same time, always. And I feel like that's the perfect mom display that people still have in their mind, which is crazy because it's so different now. And it's but I guess there are stories or, shows like The Fosters where it's lesbian parents. So we are introducing more of that to people, at least through the media. But I think my mindset too is okay, married, house, kids, somehow we're going to be fucking rich and I'm going to be home all the time. You know what I mean? And it's such a sad wake up call when you're how's that going to happen? I need to figure out a job from my house.
Yeah.
So I give a lot of props to you though, especially because, man, I don't know if it's like my nerves just after working, but sometimes I'm like, come on kids, give me an hour. Like, you know what I mean? Usually I need a breather right after work. I haven't seen them all day, and even then I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna chill for like an hour and then I'm on, you know? And I guess it's just some time I need to myself, or whenever I go hit the gym or whatever it is. What is the hardest part about being a stay-at-home mom?
Self-care.
That hour I was just talking about?
Self-care. Yep.
It's hard to get those.
They say women, or people, I guess, in general, really should have 2 hours 3 times a week to themselves, and that's not working, not taking care of the kids, not running errands alone, because that's not really like time.
6 hours a week is supposed to be by myself, and I'm not sleeping, right? That's what you're saying? This is awake time? It's probably awake time.
Yeah,
that's
I think
terrible.
so. Yeah.
Emma, where would I fit that into my day?
Yeah. So that's not like realistic, you know, especially because most dads get off work and then they stay home. They don't want to stay home alone with the baby, and you want to spend time with your husband, so you don't want to go out and do something.
Right.
You want to spend time with your family. Because,
you're like, yay, he's finally here, so let's watch a movie or whatever.
Yep.
God, it's so hard. I found myself having a hard time. I don't know. I probably went years with no self-care, which is terrible. And I mean, like, not going out with my own friends, not going and getting my nails done here and there. You know, I'm one of those terrible people. I rarely get my hair cut. I started getting it cut more often, and it's definitely a better thing. But I probably went like 3 years without cutting my hair, without, you know what I mean? Just anytime, doing anything for myself. My me time is like 30 minutes I get in the bathtub, and it's also usually interrupted with like the kids talking to me or, oh mom, you know, and I mean, I love them. I love that they interact with me and stuff like that, but I wasn't getting anything where it was like, okay. So my biggest thing I had to do was like, be like, well, I have to be kind of selfish, and it makes me seem like a bitch, even though I'm not trying to be a bitch, but I do want to hang out with you, but I also need to go outside. Like, I feel a lot better when I go outside and go hiking or go in the mountain or whatever, and I want to do it alone, and I want to take a blunt, and I want to sit on a mountain and smoke and fucking think about life and have some crystals with me and, you know, just be fine. And people don't understand that, and people look at you weird. People are like, and I'm fine to like go do it with a friend or whatever, but even then I'll probably like go and sit up by myself for a little bit, or if you want to smoke with me we can, but let's not talk too much. You know what I mean? Like a real, okay, this is mine. Or like even with this podcast, this is my self-care. I love talking to people. I love going over different topics that I've thought about and getting your opinion, knowing an opposing opinion, or like if they're coincide. You know what I mean? I really like to pick people's brains and figure out exactly what people think, or why I might think a certain way when I shouldn't be, or I should, or why the hell do you think that? You know, it's just, I don't know. I agree. Self-care is hard to get even with me.
This podcast, actually, so I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I spend all my time at home, and it's hard to get away, right? So this weekend, I've had my postpartum doula workshop, and I've been away from my baby. I was away all day yesterday from 8 in the morning. I dropped my son off at my sister's house at 7:30, and I got back home at 5, and so it wasn't like hard for me. It was just, I was more worried about my sister because my baby crying. Mm-hmm. I get more concerned about the person watching my baby than my baby.
Or how they'll react. And
yeah.
You're like, is my kid being too weird?
Right. Like, how are they going to react to my son crying? Because it, like, makes me anxious. And so today he was with his dad, and he brought me lunch, so I got to see the baby. And then I came here tonight. Mm-hmm. So, and my husband sounded a little, you know, he wishes that I could spend time with him, and my baby's just a little bit under the weather. And so I told him, I was like, I have to come and do this. I need to do this for me. I want to be with my friends, and it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't have to feel guilt.
Yeah, because sometimes you just have to be like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I feel like when people tell me that, even if it's not something, sometimes I'll definitely push you back if it's not something I'm okay with, like, obviously. But if you make it known to me how important it is to you, it's going to be important to me too if I care about you. Like, it's going to be something that is going to become like, okay, well, that's fine. Go ahead. You know, I'll let it go or not really think about it. But you have to be selfish in those moments and be like, hey, because I found myself too much being like, oh, well, I don't know if he's gonna want to go to this or if you're gonna like my friends. And it's like, but I like my friends. And that's definitely not a wedge that you should be putting, you know, in between that. And I think that's self-care too, like getting out and hanging out with your friends, because you could be in a relationship, but you always need to have yourself. You need to have like your individuality and everything you do with yourself in order to keep the happiness when you go home. Because it's like, if I've had a shit ass day and I haven't seen anyone or vented or anything, I'm gonna get home and be like, ugh, you know, and that's just me.
That is so funny you mentioned that, because it wasn't until the last couple years that I have grown to have that opinion. You know, I always wanted to spend every single moment with my husband, and it was like unhealthy, and it wasn't till a couple years ago that I was realizing that we're two individual people living our individual lives together.
Right.
You know?
And it has to complement each other. You have to be able to work with each other. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. And even myself, like, I was like, okay, well, we're a set thing now. You know what I mean? It's us. It's us when we go places. And it's like, no, it shouldn't be. It should be that, like, yeah, you know, Kendra is with so-and-so, but it's still Kendra and that person. It's not like them, you know? Because then you at least know people, you know that people have a understanding of who you are alone and who you are choosing to be with and what you will put into that relationship.
Yeah. It's kind of like, this is a little bit of a weird comparison, but like when you refer to like twins, you don't say like, I mean, some people do say, how are the twins? But that takes away the twins' what individuality the twins have is their names. Right. And you're taking that away from them. And that's kind of how it is, like.
I noticed that's something that's important to me too, that people, like, I'm Kendra, you know, and please make sure that you're calling me that unless it's like a one-off. And I hate now that I'm at that age that people call me ma'am. It's so weird being at the store and they're like, excuse me, ma'am. And I'm like, oh, I have a lot of tattoos and stuff. And like, oh, it's just so weird. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm getting older. And then plus I always look back and be like, damn, I'm walking around with 2 kids too. I am a ma'am. I'm someone's mom. Like, reality sets in. I'm like, damn it.
I was thinking about when you're like a kid, there's the kids and they're your friends, and then there's the grown-ups. But now when we go to birthday parties, we're the grown-ups.
Yeah. And you're like, huh.
Whoa.
Which grown-up am I, though? Am I the cool grown-up dancing out there, or am I the one standing in the closet?
Yes.
Like, just waiting.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? Is this a surprise party? You know, you always have weird grown-ups, too.
Yeah.
You're all, Uncle Earl. Just stop. It's fine. Do you have like a set schedule that you follow each day in order to maintain your house, or?
Okay, I did. I did have a daily routine where I would clean for 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at lunch after we were done eating, and then 10 minutes after dinner. And then every week I would have like an area to clean or a room to clean, and then same thing for like the months and stuff like that. And I had like a reward system, like I'd give myself stars. However, I've been calling my best friend every day, and we talk on the phone, and we like video chat through Facebook on the phone, and we clean our house together because she's a stay-at-home mom and we get lonely.
Yeah.
And no one else appreciates like cleaning the house like we do, you know? So calling her and like doing the dishes together and doing the laundry together, and the kids, she has a son that's the same age as my son. And they can video chat, and it's like motivating and encouraging, but that's been the best thing. And honestly, when I clean the house now, I go from the back room and I get all the trash out, and I throw all the laundry in the hallway. And that's what I do for all the rooms. All the laundry just gets thrown in the hallway. And then I clean the hallway, throw the laundry in, and then dishes.
And this is every day?
Every day. I do it every day. Yeah. And Bubba Jr., when I'm doing all of that, he's running around doing his thing. Sometimes he'll come to me when I'm doing dishes. He'll help me with the dishes. After the dishes, he doesn't like the transition from the dishes to something else because he likes the water. So then I have to give him a bath. So then I clean the bathroom as I'm giving him a bath. And then he'll help me clean. Now he's the age where he can like help put laundry in the basket, or, you know.
Yeah, it's a good age. And he's so cute.
Thank you.
I love hanging out with him because he's like, so you can tell he's just ready to talk. So when he starts talking, it'll be all kinds, because you can see that there's so much going on in his mind. Like, he's just waiting.
I can't wait to hear all of his thoughts.
And so he's so fun. So the other super cool thing about Sarah is that she used to work at a dispensary. So the timing of your working at a dispensary was kind of perfect because you were pregnant, right?
I was.
So how was that? Because I know that at least in Arizona, for sure, it's very much frowned upon to get a card or anything when you're pregnant. So did you get any kind of like backlash or anything being pregnant working at a dispensary?
I got my card before I got pregnant. Then I got pregnant, and it's good for a year, right? So the 9 months is within the year.
Right.
And then I had an interview at the dispensary, and me and my husband go there all the time. We went there every day, and so we knew the staff, and they were all real nice, and I wasn't needing a job, but I was looking for a job. So I asked
if they were hiring.
Right, and so they told me to bring my resume, and they'll look it over, and at that time, I was very early in my pregnancy, before 12 weeks.
Right.
And I had my interview, and I was 13 weeks, and I wasn't showing it, but I didn't tell them that I was pregnant. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that it was necessary at that point.
They didn't ask you or anything either. Yeah, and that's pretty early in a pregnancy still.
Right. And so I got hired, and it was really good. More people are happy to see that, but then there's the older people who question why I'm working in the dispensary if I can't smoke.
That's weird, because not everybody that works in a dispensary smokes anyway. A lot of people really like the idea, or a lot of people like to grow it because they like to grow it and don't even smoke it or anything. So it's odd that they're like, well, why are you working here? But I can see the older generation doing that for sure too, though.
I think it was just because I have a little bit of a lack of knowledge on the product. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Because you had smoked before, and you could, well, I don't know, you could be like, well, yeah, I used to smoke. I'm pregnant. It's really none of your business if I smoke now or not. Like, right. Did a lot of people ask you if you smoked?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I chose not to disclose, as it's not anyone's business, right? And now all of a sudden I'm seeing these signs at the dispensary saying that, like, smoking while you're pregnant is, like, not safe and all this stuff. Like, the disclosures are, like, supposed to be hung now, you know? And I just thought that was, like, interesting timing, me being pregnant and all.
Yeah, it's definitely a little different. I've never been in a situation where I worked somewhere where it could be questioned, you know, as far as if I was smoking during my pregnancy or not. I did work at a smoke shop for a while, and I have to say, everybody that came in there was really cool. You got a lot of people that are coming in to buy wraps or whatever because they want to smoke and get high. It's not like they're there to judge you.
Yeah.
And at least that's how I felt. And I thought it would be the same way at a dispensary. But then also, I guess a lot of people go into there with the mindset of you probably partake in this because you do automatically ask, well, what do you think of this?
Right.
So, I mean, I guess I could see both sides of that. What do you think has been the hardest hurdle within your relationship that you have had to overcome since being a mom?
Since being a mom?
Yes.
Or in my entire relationship?
Ooh, I think there's different levels of stuff that you can give. So, I mean, I don't know. What's the hardest struggle altogether? So
far, it's been taking on the role of a stepmom.
Yeah.
And dealing with the other party, the outside party.
Right.
Aside from that is having a baby and adjusting and living with
a baby and with a grown-up.
Yeah.
Or hopefully grown-up.
Right. And,
depending.
I was also living with my mother-in-law.
Oh, yeah.
And my uncle-in-law. So that was stressful. And that put a lot of tension on the relationship for sure. So I don't know what was more difficult, having to adjust to a baby, which I would get used to, you know, or having to constantly live with someone that I don't get along with and feeling like I'm not being listened to, and like
there's a control issue, right?
Yeah.
When you live with somebody's parents, even if it's your own parent or somebody else, because then you have that constant of like, well, I am an adult, so you can't really tell me what to do, but you're an adult too, so I really hope you're doing what you need to do, because I'm not trying to tell an adult what to do. You know what I mean? So there's like a power struggle, and then the control of like, well, do I have to worry about them cleaning up after themselves? Are they gonna do it? Or, you know, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, it's definitely like, I don't enjoy cleaning up after another adult, and so that was always a struggle. And it's his mom in the next room, like, we can't smash. We can't get it on.
Are you really loud during sex then? That's what I feel like you're telling me.
Now that his mom's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, generally, prior to his mom living with us, yes. Yeah. And then
you had to get quiet while she was there.
Because I just felt so uncomfortable about it, honestly. And like, sex is like a normal, natural thing, whatever. But I grew up with my dad.
Right.
And he, there was a stigma about sex. And
he was probably kind of uncomfortable, or felt uncomfortable talking to his daughter about sex. Because I don't know if you noticed, but guys are like, my baby girl, no, blah, blah, blah. But for the guys, they're like, going out there, tiger, here, here's this condom, you know, which is cool. Thank you for giving your sons condoms, but are we giving the girls condoms too?
Right.
And I feel like sometimes that's lost.
Yeah.
Did your dad give you condoms?
No, as a matter of fact, my sex talk was not like a sex talk. It was, if you choose, like, you're not getting on birth control. If you choose to have sex and you end up getting pregnant, I'm not helping with that baby. Like, that's your responsibility. You took that risk. Like, so it was just like a whole negative. Scary. It was scary. So now I have like a hard time, you know.
Do you have a hard time talking about sex?
I try not to.
But you feel like that little bit of uncomfortableness because of how you grew up?
Yeah. Like, that's it's not like I shouldn't be talking about it. You know what I mean? Like, I should keep that to myself.
I guess
part of me.
I don't know if I really talked about sex as much as I maybe should have growing up either. I think for our parents' generation, it was kind of like frowned upon to talk about. And I think that's, you know, I'm all about it. Have sex.
Right.
Like, let's talk about it. You don't think I'm doing it well? Let's talk about it. Tell me what you like. What porn do you watch? Like, you know what I mean? So I think it's very different, but we also have a lot more people out there that are talking about sex. And we have a lot more different views. Dan Savage, you know, Loveline, things like that we grew up with. Yeah. So it's very different looking at it.
Yeah.
I definitely hope that with sex ed and things like that, like I think about that with my kids. I mean, sex is talked about in everything. Songs, music, movies, whether it's Disney movies or, you know, whatever. It's all different kinds of stuff it's talked about in. So it makes me wonder what exactly my kids are going to learn. You know what I mean? Like, what's sex ed now? Because it's been a long time since I did it.
Yeah. What was it like when you did it?
Well, I remember for sure they had tampons. I remember there being a clear glass, 4th grade, for the first time, and then we talked about it again in 5th grade. I remember there being a clear glass and then putting a tampon in there and showing you how it swells up and, you know, fills the whole glass, and they're like, yeah, this is what's going to happen. And it's like, well, that's kind of crazy. And then I remember, like, them talking about intercourse, and they called it intercourse, and they showed you, like, a woman's, you know, the diagram of a woman's vagina and where a baby grows, and basically, like, pointed out where a penis would go. And it was, like, you know, just it wasn't the best education at all.
My sex ed was very much like that. However, I don't remember much. I remember talking about periods in sex ed more than...
They split you up, boys and girls?
Yes, yeah. They did. And it was in 4th grade. The only thing that I really remember talking about was periods. And
yeah, that's a big thing that I remember.
Yeah.
Maybe that's when girls start their period. I didn't start for a long ass time after that.
I started mine at 17.
Yeah, I started mine when I was 15.
Yeah.
So definitely later in life.
Yeah.
And I remember looking around being like, dang, my friend got hers when she was 9. Like, what's going on? And kind of thinking maybe something was wrong. But my mom was like, yeah, I started later. So it wasn't anything I ever totally worried about, you know?
Yeah.
What about growing up? Did you have an easy childhood? Or, because you already mentioned, like, your parents split, you know, weren't together. So you had siblings in different places and stuff. Did that affect you being an adult?
So there were a lot of women, like mother figures in and out of my life. Mm-hmm. So I just have become calloused to, it's hard for me to like fully open up to all of these mother figures. One, because I don't want to like disappoint them. And so that's like really hard for one. I remember when I was 6, maybe, it felt like I hadn't seen my mom in like 6 months. Mm-hmm. And I just remember crying to my mom, or my stepmom. I call her my mom. My stepmom and my dad, and I was just like, I miss my mom like so much, and I just want to see my mom. And my brother and my sister had their mom, and they got to see their dad, you know, my step-siblings. And my little sister had my mom and her dad, and I had my dad and my stepmom, you know, which I love my dad. I'm so thankful for my dad.
Right.
He definitely stepped up, and he grew up and became a dad when my mom got pregnant. And
your dad stepped up, so that's the big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was asking if you went through like anything traumatic growing up, like, you know, things that affected you as an adult that you've realized now. Because I went through a time in my life where I was like, you know, I struggle, I've talked about it before, a lot of the time I think about negative things first, and that's like a constant struggle I have with myself. And then going to being in therapy and like talking out my problems and not having like the judgment and stuff where I could talk about it, I ended up realizing a lot of my issues are just kind of like the way I was brought up was not really in like it was a struggle growing up. You know what I mean? So I kind of look at everything for like the hard stuff that's going to happen first, and then if there's a light, which is not really the best way to look at things. So did you have anything that you went through that affected you in those ways?
So my dad is a recovered addict, and my mom is an addict, and my stepmom is an addict. They are all addicted to meth, and I don't know, currently, my dad I know is clean.
So they've struggled with meth your whole life?
Yes, except my dad.
Yeah.
However, he battles his triggers still.
I heard that one, like,
relapsed.
never goes away.
Yeah.
I never, honestly, the only thing I ever did was when I was younger, I used to like to party and I used to like to take pills. And then one night I felt really weird on the pills that I took, and I decided I wasn't taking pills anymore. And so that's why even now, like with my pain and stuff, I turn to marijuana or medical, edibles or whatever I can get, because I would rather fight my pain with that, because I'm like, when I was young, I was stupid, and I don't need to be all stupid on these pills. So, and I'm not saying I took a lot of pills or anything like that, but even just taking a pill and drinking, you're not supposed to do that, and that's stupid. And I look back at it now and I'm like, gosh, what was I thinking? What was all of my friends thinking that were doing that? You know? They say you always want them though, and I think my want for them is not there, but maybe it is because I do edibles or whatever. So I'm like, and then plus I had kids, so I don't know. I'm not really trying to party the same.
See, a lot of that changes when you have kids, so that's where my question comes up as an adult. Now that I have a kid, why it
wasn't the same for them?
Why didn't they change their habits?
That's definitely something I would like to explore with someone, because I know in general it's hard for me to understand, if you have a kid, how you could let that happen the same way. Or even, I don't know, it just changed for me. Like, I used to smoke cigarettes. I found out I was pregnant. I stopped. You know what I mean? Like, maybe a couple times, like super stressful. One time with my first daughter, a couple times with my second daughter. That was it. I did not, and I used to smoke multiple cigarettes per day. But it was like, oh, you're pregnant. And I was like, oh, I'm not smoking. You know what I mean? So just kind of a different mentality. So that's kind of difficult. Do you feel like that hinders or makes you want to parent differently?
It makes me want, we're getting back to the perfect mom. I have this just all the time. I'm actively trying not to be any, I don't know how to say it. I actively try not to fuck up. I don't want my kids to hate me. I don't want,
ill thoughts and shit.
Yeah. And I know how easy it is for your kid to like get mad at you, because I was the angry kid and their parent.
Yeah, I feel that too. As an adult, like, I definitely don't want my kids angry at me. And some of the stuff that they say, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, like, that hurts my feelings. Calm down. You know what I mean? And I have to remember, like, these are little people. They're just starting to understand some feelings. They don't even totally know their feelings yet. But I want them to grow with awesome feelings.
Right.
I want them to be like, Mom worked, and, we did fun stuff and this and that. And sometimes I catch myself, like, yelling or shit like that. And I don't want to do that. But it's just because I grew up in yelling. So it's like a normal thing for me. So it's hard to kind of correct those flaws. I guess it would be a flaw, or, whatever tactic you grabbed from your parents, or not even just parents, just people, it could be stupid shit. It could be movies. It could be stuff you watched on TV and you're like, oh, I watched Full House and that's how life should be. You know what I mean? There's no mom, but everything else seems fine there. Like,
yeah.
So it's very different.
Yeah.
What did you think of our Soul Assassin?
I'm pretty stoned. It definitely tasted like dirt, but like I am really high.
Yeah. It tasted very wormy.
Yeah.
Which is like a fresh dirt taste. It did smell like that too, but yeah, I'm pretty high. But it wasn't like a super downer, so that hybrid definitely kicked in enough to like still keep me interested, and
Yeah.
I do feel like pretty mellow. My knees kind of feel good. I don't feel, today hasn't been like a super bad back pain day for me, but I don't feel any pain, any tenderness in my back, and I usually would have like constant pain in my lower back no matter what. I also am anxious and shit a lot, so smoking always calms me down, and when it's an indica, I can tell myself like really mellows out, where I just kind of, that voice in my head shuts up. You know what I mean? And I feel that with this too.
Yes, for sure. I was gonna mention that too.
I forgot to ask you, so what do you have your card for?
It's for my knee, actually, because my knee It's always hurt when it's cold. I honestly haven't had it checked out by a doctor, but when I was had my evaluation, it was like popping, and she was like, "Oh my god, I don't think your knee's supposed to do that." And I was like,
"You're like, no, it's not."
Yeah, well, it hurts. It hurts.
So with the weather, you get a lot of my back definitely starts to hurt when it's gonna rain and stuff. I can always feel that shit coming. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, ever since I was in high school.
Yeah, my back pain started when I was 16 too. The anxiety I kind of dealt with when I was 19, but then it went away. And then it came back really hardcore, and I figured out it was because of my birth control pills. So then I went on to the shot. Well, I got pregnant on the shot, so I didn't want to be on the shot anymore. So I haven't had any issues with anxiety since I got off the pills. I now have an IUD, so that hasn't really been an issue. But when I got in my car accident, that like triggered everything for me again. And it brought everything like full loop. And then forever I was fucking seeing a bus when I was driving around, like coming towards me. And I was just like, oh, this is too much. Became like a struggle to come home and be like, oh, I just feel all this pressure in my chest. And went to the doctor, and she was like, I am pretty sure you have PTSD. She was like, and you know, talking to your therapist, like I think there's a lot more going on here. And I was like, okay. So I realized without actually knowing it that that's probably a lot of the reason I smoke to begin with, because I'm always like, okay, well, let's chill out. You know what I mean? Get my day going. I'm in a good mood. All right. You know?
Yeah.
Smoke a bowl, get ready, go to work, good all day, come home, smoke, I'm chill, I'm ready.
It's honestly,
you know?
It's nice to not be so serious.
Yeah.
I'm so serious all the time, and it's nice to not be.
And it's nice it's nice to not be like super stoned. I like how I feel where I'm pretty high, but I'm not like stuck. I'm not couch locked, and I don't have the munchies or anything, so that's cool. I feel fine. You know? So you got this at Harvest, right? Harvest is good.
Harvest too.
I do recommend them. If you go, you can tell them that Kendra sent you. Or Sarah, I guess. But Kendra probably. No.
Kendra probably.
Be like, yeah, that's why I'm here. But if you haven't gone, they have killer new patient specials too. So go check it out. Did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about? We pretty much went over all of the different, being at home all day, taking care of your kid, cleaning the house every day. I wish I could do that every day. So I envy you. I like cleaning. I like putting on music and cleaning and shit, as long as I'm not like having to clean because everything is a hella mess. I hate that. But if I'm just actively like keeping it clean, I'm good.
Yeah, it's like a constant state of tidying almost, you know?
Yeah.
And then when one room gets really bad, you're like, shit, I gotta clean this.
It's definitely fulfilling, so.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely thank you for coming. And,
Thanks
you know,
for
again, thanks so much for tuning in to Kendra After Dark. Make sure to find us on social media and check out the YouTube page. And we will catch you next week.